Just taking a quick look at this solar panel from CROS. This is actually a camouflage panel. So, if you're kind of concerned about, trying to be a little bit more stealthy when you're when you're setting these solar panels out, take a look at this thing and actually, it's actually kind of crazy how well this camouflage actually works, right? Actually, if we take a look at some of these other pictures here, they even have the camo on the front side of the panel as well. So basically, the only thing that you really notice is the actual solar cells. So pretty effective on that. Now one thing I would say is like typically if you really want to go stealth, I think it's still better just to lay these things flat on the ground. But because the camo is on the front side, I mean, I guess that could still help as well with that. But yeah, you can see that basically the whole thing is just wrapped in camo. And this design actually is quite nice with the buckles. I think this is kind of my favorite design for portable solar panels because all you got to do is undo those two buckles, right here, basically, and you unfold it and you're in business, basically. Now it does have, if you do want to, set it up, it does have the kickstands, and these actually are, they're pretty beefy looking, kickstands. Some of these solar panels have like the kickstands will be like, something like this. So those definitely look, up to the task. Now, a few things we do need to discuss is, let's see, where do we want to go? Let's go here with the adapters first. So they're giving you these four different adapters. And, oh, and by the way, actually, I should probably mention this panel does output, MC4. It does have MC4 outputs on it. And it does give you all these individual cables, which is actually quite nice. I like having these, individual cables. Hopefully that image is right because, in this one, it kind of almost makes it look like it's one of those combiner cables, like 4-in-1. I'd rather see those individual cables just because, you're probably only going to be using one of them, right? So it's just a little bit less bulk. But what's actually interesting here is that they give you the MC4 to 5521, 55 to 5525, Anderson, and then crocodile clip. I don't know. They should get rid of that. You don't want to be hooking up a solar panel like directly to a battery without a charge controller. So get rid of that and give us. How about give us either an XT60 or 8 millimeter, or even ideally maybe give us both of those. That would be much better. So, but let's see what else. Was going to talk about here. Oh yeah, on this image here, one thing they're noting is that they're actually calling this a polysilicon solar panel. Now this is actually just like another name or another term for polycrystalline. So this isn't a monocrystalline panel. So they're saying it's a 200-watt panel, and I think actually you're not gonna get 200. You almost never get 200 watts from a 200-watt panel, anyways. But being polycrystalline, they do mention on this MC4 outlet here, the max is 160 watts. So yeah, that's probably about, what you get with typical 200-watt panels anyways. But yeah, kind of interesting that they say that thing will only, the maximum it will only output is 160 watts. So, but at this price, this is a pretty good priced panel and an unusual offering, right? Having this whole camouflage design, which I do like. I do think that's kind of a good idea. Why not instead of just having all black or something? Now going back to this image here, the MC4 is kind of the main, connector that you're going to want to be using, but we do get this other output box, and we do get USB Type-C up to 60 watts, so not too bad. A couple of USB-As, and then a 5521 that can do up to 90 watts for whatever reason if you wanted to do that. And now they do mention this thing is 16 pounds, so I think that's actually a pretty good weight for a 200-watt panel. You definitely don't want to, I've kind of seen some of them be around like, 10 to 12 pounds. You actually don't want these things to be too light, because again, when you're setting them up, especially if you're going to be using the kickstands and stuff like that, if they're too light, they're just going to blow over in the wind. And then obviously you don't want them to be too heavy as well, just for portability. Now it's interesting that the only mention of the actual material that they use in this for this panel is right here, EVA. Now EVA is typically used in most portable solar panels, but it's typically not used for the most outer layer. You either want to use, there's basically two options that you typically see. You either see ETFE or PET. Okay. Now, since they don't mention, typically ETFE is just far superior. Basically, the transparency is greater and it's just going to last longer. It's much more durable. It's much more resistant to, being out in the sun, all the time. So, typically if you use ETFE, you're going to mention that in the listing. So I'm gonna go ahead and just guess that they're using PET, which is it's a cheaper, more budget material, and I think we can actually kind of tell that just from these images as well. You can just kind of see how like hazy and light colored and cloudy these look. Typically ETFE will be like a darker appearance where you can actually just see the solar cell a little bit better because again the higher transparency. So yeah, kind of an interesting panel from CROS here with that camo design. Now I would just kind of like to see them maybe offer an upgraded version with that ETFE coating and monocrystalline solar cells. I think with that we could probably get 10, 20, maybe 25 more watts out of a panel this size. And so hopefully you just kind of found this whole overview helpful or interesting and just something to consider, right? And yeah, thanks for watching.